Okay, let's get an update now on a story we told you about in an earlier show. BC's proposed new food guidelines in public schools. No more pizza days in school. My kids loved pizza days. My wife and I loved it too. We didn't have to make a lunch those days. Pizza on the hit list in these proposed guidelines. What else is on the bad food list here? Cookies, cupcakes, ice cream. What about school bake sales? Would those be banned now? A lot of parents worried about that. French fries on the hit list. Oh, I lived on cafeteria French fries in high school. Do these guidelines go too far? Is this the nanny state gone wild here? What about school pizza days and bake sales? Let's discuss now with my guest, Corinne Kirkpatrick, Liberal MLA. She is the official opposition education critic in the BC legislature, and I'm pleased to welcome her. Corinne, thank you very much for coming on today.
Hi, Mike. Very happy to be here.
Okay, do these guidelines go too far?
Yeah, I think they go too far, and I think parents would agree, or I know parents would agree that they go too far. But what the government has done is they've taken what used to be the food guide, and they just applied it to the food that was actually served and sold within the school. Now they've extended that to any food. If you're bringing your cupcakes in to your grade 3 class birthday party, can't do that anymore. You're going to have to give those kids broccolis and carrot sticks instead so they can celebrate.
What kind of kid is going to celebrate with broccoli and carrot sticks? I don't know many. I don't know
Not
many.
No.
I don't know many.
No, I don't think so.
I've heard from a lot of parents on this and on this issue. You've heard probably from way more. And one of the things that people are concerned about are fundraisers, pizza days. Like pizza days are kind of a tradition in a lot of schools. Would that be allowed or not?
It would not be allowed. No, not a pizza is definitely on the hit list in terms of what you can't have. I mean, I think if you make your pizza crust out of bulgur or quinoa or something, and you put asparagus on the pizza, that might do it. But otherwise, no more pizza day, no more hot dogs, no more cupcakes. And I don't know about what if we're selling Girl Guide cookies in the school, or if we're doing our fundraisers. You've got kids every year that are asking you to buy chocolate almonds. Those aren't going to be allowed either.
Okay, for a lot of parents who are active at their kids' schools, they rely on fundraisers, and pizza days, bake sales are big fundraisers, right? What are you hearing from parents about that? Like, are those type of events threatened here?
Yeah, they are threatened if this is extended to those activities that are happening, outside of the school cafeteria. It also applies to sporting events if it's if the school has organized something. So it really does reach too far, and parents don't know what they will do, or PACs don't know what they will do to actually replace pizza days and hot dog days and those kinds of things. And don't get me wrong, Mike, we want healthy food in schools. We just want to have the ability to have some fun sometimes and not create a relationship with food with kids where there's anxiety, they feel something's bad. That's not healthy for children. And it's definitely going to hurt the PACs and the ability to raise money. Okay.
The government says, of course, this is about keeping kids healthy, making sure they're making healthy choices in what they eat, reducing rates of childhood obesity. I see the Canadian childhood obesity groups are endorsing this plan, this idea. What about that? Like, what about the argument that, look, our kids are eating junk food, we've got to replace it with healthy choices?
Well, I mean, we can say realistically, well, why don't we have, 70 or 80 or 85% of the food that we're serving in the cafeterias or we're serving in the school come into that healthy category? But we can't take away those other things either. And it's outside of this fundraising. I've spoken to a number of parents who've got autistic kids or who have kids that have, different relationships with food or health issues. These kiddos are not. It's going to cause anxiety. It's going to be exclusionary. And why do they have to extend it so far beyond what they've got now, which is the food that is sold by the school to children in the school? So completely understand the need to have healthy choices. I've always advocated for healthy choices in schools, but it's gone too far, and they're extending outside the walls of the school.
Speaking to liberal education critic Corinne Kirkpatrick about new food guidelines in schools, I'm just taking a look at the draft guidelines that were issued by the government, and it is quite clear. It says these guidelines would apply to lunch sales, fun fairs, sporting events. So sporting events, you couldn't get a hot dog at your kid's baseball game or soccer game at a school. Right?
Not if it's at the school, or
Wow.
even if it's not at the school, but it's a school sanctioned event. Vitamin-rich water, energy drinks, and these aren't things that we want kids eating on a consistent basis. But these are not daily events. These are things that happen infrequently throughout the school year. My kid eats healthy food, and the few chocolate chips and cupcakes that she had in school, they haven't hurt her. They've helped her develop a healthy relationship with food. And it's about education. We have to make sure that our kids understand what those good choices are, but we can't take the fun choices away from them.
Yeah, I noticed too, it says that these rules would also apply to food and beverages brought to the school by students to share with other students. For example, classroom celebrations. So you can't bring a birthday cake if your teacher's birthday?
You can't bring a birthday cake. And
Come on.
I remember when my daughter was young and I sent the carrot sticks to the birthday party. I can guarantee you that every carrot stick came back at the end of the day. That's not what kids want. And again, it's just occasional and celebratory, and it just takes the fun away.
Yeah. I know it says the guidelines do not apply to foods brought from home for personal consumption. So your bagged lunch that you send to your kids, you said your kid to school with a bagged lunch.
Right.
So I guess there won't be like a school administrator poking through the kids' lunch bags, making sure there's no banned items in there.
No, they won't have to do that. But I do wonder about how teachers are going to feel about if your kid does bring those cupcakes in. Who's going to police that? And is it going to be the teacher that says, no, sorry, we can't have that today, even though it's Susie's birthday?
Well, you're not allowed to share it. I mean, so if a kid brings a cupcake in their lunch bag, that kid could eat the cupcake, but you couldn't give it to they couldn't share it with the kid at the next desk, basically, like probably, right?
Absolutely. That's what these outlines say. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
This is guidelines. Go ahead,
they
Karen.
refer to fun. They refer to fun fairs. You're not allowed to bring these things to fun fairs, but isn't the point of it being fun is that you can have these kinds of things?
Yeah, it's not much of a fun fair anymore. You got to get carrot sticks instead of a hot dog.
Yeah, not so fun.
Yeah, the guidelines do not apply to food and beverages sold or served only to adults. So the teachers can eat what they want, but the kids can't.
Exactly. The teachers can eat it, but the kids can't. Yeah, or the parents that come in, they can eat it, but the kids can't.
What is the status of this? Because the last time I took a close look at this, these were draft guidelines that had been distributed for feedback from parents. Like, has it been implemented now? Is it still in a consultation stage?
It's a bit mysterious, and I'm not sure how much consultation has actually happened. I've spoken to some of the school boards, and there's some confusion about kind of next steps on this. So the document was released. It was released with the word confidential on it, but it was released publicly. It does say it's consultative at this point, but it's very unclear what's happening.
Yeah. I guess the major concern that I've heard from a lot of parents is how this could impact fundraising events like bake sales, fun fairs, as you mentioned, pizza days. And we've already touched on this briefly, but what are your concerns there? Because I know a lot of parent advisory councils, they operate on a very tight margin, very tight budget. They don't have a lot of money. They need to raise money. And this is one of the ways they raise money.
Well, I guess the ministry is presuming that these parent groups are going to have to be creative and come up with some other ways to be able to raise money. But I mean, you can only have so many bottle drives every year. And these fundraisers, whether they're selling chocolates or baked goods, it's so good for these kids to have the experience of running these, to learn how to sell things, so it's much broader than just the money that they're bringing in, although that's a really important part of it. It's a good overall experience. But I mean, I'm not creative enough to say, what can we replace this with? We can sell Christmas cards, we can sell baskets of fruit, we can, there perhaps are other things that these packs can look at, but they're not going to be as effective for them, and it's going to be tough.
Last question for you. So you want the government to put the brakes on this, right?
Oh, absolutely. I want them to put the brakes on it, but I just don't want to give the impression that I want your cafeteria to be full of fried food. That's not what we're saying. We're saying healthy choice. I agree. You mentioned your friend. Okay, maybe that's not something the cafeteria has to sell, but saying that you can't have a vitamin-rich, water from time to time, that's just going too far. And saying that it applies to outside events and fundraising, that's going too far.
Corinne, thank you very much for coming on today. Appreciate it.
My pleasure, Mike. Thank you.